Okay, here I am with Pip Taylor from Australia. So Pip, thanks for joining me.
No problem.
Let's talk about this race, Lifetime Fitness Triathlon and Olympic distance, and that's your specialty, right?
Yes, yeah, Olympic distance and up to 70.3, but
Okay.
mainly Olympic distance.
Okay. Have you done this race before?
I have. It's my third time, I think, here.
We have a lot of repeat people. It must be a great race because a lot of pros keep coming back to this particular race. So is this race a peak event for you, or is it an event in your season that you're going to use to prepare for a bigger event or world championship, whatever event it might be later on? How do you view this particular race?
I think this race is always a big race in the season. I think, being a triathlete, we have so many races and so many opportunities to race. We end up having lots and lots of peaks,
Right.
and particularly this race is part of the series. I think it's definitely a big race, but it's not the only race for the year.
Right, right. So in preparation for this, will you actually taper for it as if it is like a priority A event, or will you just rest for it a little bit and come into it in good form but not your best form?
Yeah, exactly. For me as well this year, this is my first race of 3 in a row, so the next 3 weekends I'll be racing, so
Gotcha.
you kind of can't taper off too much, else by the time I get to the third race I'll be...
You'll be deconditioned.
Exactly. It'll be a struggle to get through the distance.
Yeah, that's true. Good point, good point. And are they all Olympic distance or different?
No, I've got the first and the third are Olympic distance, and the one in the middle is a 70.3, so
Okay.
yeah, a bit of chop and change.
Yeah, definitely. So how does your training change when you're getting ready for an Olympic distance as opposed to a 70.3? Do you boost volume? Do you reduce intensity? How does it change?
Well, I've come off racing a couple of Olympics and 70.3 and also a sprint race. For me, the training doesn't change too much between the two. I train with a real mix of some base aerobic and intensity pretty much all the year through. But coming into races, it's just balancing that a little, making sure you're not overdoing the intensity.
Sure.
And also not overdoing the volume coming into races like this.
Yeah.
Making sure you're getting some rest.
Yeah, absolutely. Rest is important.
Exactly, and I think particularly for me in the next couple of weeks with 3 races, it's going to be the key, is holding back and not doing too much training.
Yeah, you're right.
It'll be more in the ice bars and the massage table, I think.
That's right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So you're a nutritionist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you contribute to Triathlete magazine. You write articles. They're really good articles, by the way. Tell us a little bit about how you approach nutrition when it comes to Olympic distance racing, like race day nutrition, actually performance nutrition. Do you do sports drink? Do you do just water? Do you do gels? You hear all these different approaches by athletes. What do you do?
Me personally, during a race, during an Olympic distance race, is generally just a sports drink.
Okay. Is there any particular sports drink that you use?
I use Accelerate,
Okay.
which I find works really well for me, the 4-to-1 ratio with the protein carbohydrate. And occasionally I'll use a gel on top of that as well. Nutrition's so personal though, and it depends on so many factors, and even nutritional status coming into a race might affect slightly your plan, so you've got to be ready to roll with changes a little bit, and how you're feeling, and also it's a lot of trial and error, and over many races and many seasons, getting what works for you.
Sure. So from your professional perspective as well as that of an endurance professional athlete, how do you treat your nutrition, say 48 hours prior to a big event, like Lifetime Fitness Triathlon? Do you increase your carbohydrate intake? Do you actually reduce calorie intake because your training volumes aren't high? How do you approach it? And what do you recommend to age group athletes?
I think certainly, and for an Olympic distance race, if you're well trained, there's really no need to be upping your intake and upping your calories and your carbohydrate too much. There's, I think, a lot of athletes and triathletes in particular, love that carbo loading phase, and
all
think
pasta
it's exactly. And I think it's really easy to overdo that. And the essence of carbohydrate loading is if your training's tapered off, which it's going to be naturally in the day or two leading into a race, by eating what you would normally eat on a lighter day, not a huge training day, you're really getting enough calories and carbohydrate
Sure.
with a reduced training load to be, sufficiently ready to go.
It's a good point. So you really don't have to change anything, basically.
You don't have to change too much, no.
Yeah, it makes sense. How about hydration? You see everyone walking around with their water bottle at the expo, and they're all sipping their water bottle all day long, and I'm thinking, oh geez, they're just going to be in the bathroom all night.
Oh no, I know. Being well hydrated, in the days leading up is important, but again, you can really overdo it.
Yeah.
And all you're doing then is flushing everything out and getting bad sleep because you're up and down all night. So you can't hold the fluids in your system for that long.
Right.
So being well hydrated keeps your body in good shape, but it's not going to mean that you're hydrated for the race itself if it's in 2-3 days time.
Sure, no, makes a lot of sense. So race morning, I get a lot of questions from athletes, age group athletes, about what do you eat race morning? It's the race starts at 7. You might want to get up 2 hours, 3 hours before the race. What is the time frame in which you should have your pre-race meal, and what does it consist of?
Well, I like to get up and eat quite early. I'll eat kind of 3.5 hours before a race start, and it'll be generally some toast and an accelerated drink on the toast. I'll just have some jam, sometimes some Vegemite, being Australian, which adds a little bit of salt, which is kind of handy on a race morning.
Sure.
And then often an hour before the start of the race, I'll have 2 Excel gels and just water after that. And for me, that's plenty.
Okay, that does the trick.
Yeah.
That's great. So do you have any sponsors that you would like to tell us about?
I have fantastic sponsors who really keep me in the sport and let me live my dream of being a professional athlete. In particular, TIA,
Okay.
big sumo sponsor,
Yeah.
Kestrel bikes,
Mm-hmm.
Avia shoes, Profile Design, Accelerate, all my nutritional products,
Yep.
and Extenix, the Lace of Genius. I'm not sure if you've seen them, but the new laces, they'll be on the book everywhere.
Great.
So
Great. Well, very good. Well, thank you so much, and good luck to you on race day.
thank you very much.
Yeah.